Police. Police. A man in Vaughan shot at 3 home intruders, and police is calling it self-defense. The best part? No criminal charges. Tonight, we speak about why this matters. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host, Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. As a special guest, I had to reach out to him today. I wanted to cover this story, and thank God he agreed to join us short notice. We are joined by National Firearms Association's Executive VP Blair Hagen to speak about the video you just saw and why this should matter to Canadians. Let's bring him aboard. Blair, thank you once again for being on the show. Thank you for doing this short notice.
Pleasure to be here again.
Good to see you, Blair.
Good to see you.
So before we get into it, I figured I'd just kind of provide the information, what we know as of right now about the case. So on Tuesday, March 17th, at around 12:50, so midnight, just before 1, police responded to reports of a shooting at a domicile in Vaughan. Multiple suspects, armed, at least one of them had a firearm. The owner discharged his legally owned firearm on the 3 home intruders. Although they escaped, one of them ended up in hospital with a bullet in the gut. He was later identified as Trestin Cassanova-Alman, 24. He is charged with robbery with a firearm and disguise with intent in relations to the home invasion, but he also was breaching his parole because that young man had been on outstanding. Not only did he breach parole, he was on outstanding orders, and he had active warrants on top of it. So we're not talking about a good little man here. So the part that I really like about this is that one of them got shot. I won't lie to you. I absolutely love that the guy was able to get some type of protection. But the fact that I really love about this is the police are not pressing charges, and they've been very clear about this, that no process, no nothing. It seems like the guy has used self-defense. So before you give us your opinion on the case itself, can you explain to the listeners what is legally allowed to be done in Canada when it comes to self-defense?
Well, that's a loaded question. Forget the pun.
I know.
And this comes up a lot when people talk about self-defense with firearms, which obviously representing the National Firearms Association, I have gotten a lot of questions about over the years. And what I always come down to with firearms or any means of self-defense, it is entirely circumstantial. Okay, the circumstances of every case are different, and you can't just unfortunately, in Canada today, you can't just give a blanket endorsement for one form of self-defense or another form that's going to work in every situation. And you know what? That's wrong. People talk a lot about castle laws in the United States, castle doctrine, that sort of thing. If someone comes into your home, you are entitled to use whatever level of force that you feel that you need to defend yourself and your family. And I know a lot of Canadians have a problem with that. Because obviously you don't want to see people who have no ill will or ill intent, injured or killed just for simply making a mistake or something like that. But the fact of the matter is that laws regarding self-defense in Canada that we still have today, they may have made sense 50, 60 years ago, but frankly, at this point in time, they are antiquated laws based on a Canada that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So that does need to be addressed through legislation. That's the only way to do it. You do have the right to defend yourself in Canada. you do have the right to defend yourself in Canada with a firearm, even a handgun. But the fact of the matter is, each case is different, and under the law, the use has to be proportional to the threat that you're facing. Um, how you are supposed to know this in the heat of the moment, and I'm sure this gentleman in Vaughan didn't know what was happening. He may not even known that his assailants were armed with a handgun, unless it becomes apparent, during the assault. You don't really know. This idea that a victim, a homeowner, is supposed to know instantly what level of force that he's facing, what level of force is reasonable to be used against somebody who's breaking into your house. You don't know, what his intent is. Well, you can imagine what his intent is, and it's not good. And how many there are, and make a judgment based on that, is frankly ludicrous. And that's why these laws need to be addressed. The onus should not be on the homeowner to justify his level of force. Okay, and frankly, I understand it's problematic. I've dealt with a lot of these cases over the years. I've dealt with them myself. I've been the subject of 2 armed robberies. Okay, so I've had guns shoved in my face too, and I had to make quick decisions on what I needed to do to survive in those situations. And you know what? In retrospect, I really resented that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
be in that situation and then going through your mind, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Under the law, I'm expected to use reasonable force proportionate to what is happening to me, and you don't know what's going to happen next. Okay, so when you're in that situation, you should expect that law enforcement and the courts are going to have your back. But unfortunately, in Canada today, that's not the case.
I think
And that's something that Rob and I normally agree on. As
Oh,
much
yeah.
as our views are very different, I spend a lot of my time in the US, especially in the South. I like Alabama because people don't mess around there. They assume that they have firearms and they're carrying. So people are very polite in Alabama. But one thing we do agree on is exactly this, that if
100%.
you enter my house where my family is,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about what is an appropriate amount of force. I'm getting rid of the problem by any stretch imagination, by any means necessary, and I'll talk to God later on if I went overboard. That's
Sure.
my limitation as a Christian.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think there are some scenarios where proportional force makes sense. Say a bar fight, right? If you're out in public, if they're out in public and there's a fight, I think we can all agree that that makes sense. But if someone goes into your house, goes into my house, and in my opinion, they forfeit whatever they've accepted, whatever cost happens there, because I don't want to use proportional force when I'm defending, when I'm the only thing in between this guy and my family. I don't want a fair fight. I want overwhelming fucking force. I want massively disproportional force, because I don't want there to be the slightest chance that this guy overpowers me. And I think a lot of Canadians feel that way.
And unfortunately, the laws as they stand today try to create a level playing field between criminal and victim. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's just wrong on so many levels. Especially with what's happening today in major urban centers, where, my God, the rash of home invasions that you're seeing in the GTA and other places in Canada were unheard of, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. They happened, but when they happened, they were remarkable, and now they're routine. And the country is changing. It's changing for very unfortunate reasons. And Canadians are going to have to learn to adapt, and unfortunately, that's meaning providing for your own self-defense, knowing certainly knowing the law. And when I talk to people, because I've gotten this question for decades, people want to know, what is my right to use a firearm? What use of force is appropriate in the situation? And first of all, you're going to have to decide that. Okay, you're there, I'm not. I can advise you based on my experience. Law enforcement uses a use of force continuum, And I always encourage people, look, I mean, look at the law enforcement use of force continuum. That's a pretty good guide on how you can react to an escalating level of violence. But still, in a home invasion situation, are you going to have the opportunity to do that at your house at midnight? Come on, you know? Look at legal precedent. There is a lot of legal precedent in Canada in terms of self-defense. Self-defense situations that went right and went wrong, because there are things you can do to protect yourself. You can use force to protect yourself and weapons, but at some point in time during that amount of force may not be appropriate anymore. Be aware of that. When the threat is no longer there, the force that you use may not be appropriate. So there are a lot of factors here, and especially in Canada today, where it's very, very complicated, unnecessarily complicated. People who think that they're going to find themselves in these situations need to do some research, need to do some education, because that's going to have an impact on how you come out of that situation.
One of the things that all mainstream media is talking about, the police said it multiple times, it's on their website right now, is that he was a legal gun owner and his firearm was properly stored. They keep on repeating that in the media, which as a legal gun owner, I'm like, that is a very interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that mentioned like that.
Yeah.
So why is this case so different in your opinion? Why do they keep on saying this? And
you know what?
Because we don't know the type of firearm, we don't know who the guy is. We just know that he's a middle-aged man that had an elderly woman in the house with him. Sure. That's it. We know nothing else. But he was a legal gun owner, and his firearm was well stored or properly stored, and there's no charges. What's going on here?
Well, you know what? I heard that too, and I thought, well, the question is not whether his firearm was legally stored. His firearm was in use. Okay. So the storage laws didn't apply. Okay. And, his firearm may have been legally stored before, he suffered the home invasion and was forced to protect himself. But the fact of the matter is he felt compelled to take his firearm out of storage and use it to defend himself and the other individuals in the household. And that's not necessarily illegal, okay? A lot of people think that Canadian firearm storage laws preclude the use of firearms in self-defense, and in some cases they can, okay? But if you take a firearm out of storage expressly for the purpose of defending yourself, that's not necessarily unlawful. Obviously, there's going to be an investigation, and the circumstances of that use are going to be weighed against the outcome of the incident. But no, I mean, if your home is under assault and you feel that your life or the life of others is in danger, you go and retrieve your firearm, load it, make ready, and defend yourself. That's not necessarily illegal.
It's interesting because I feel like the media or the cops keep pushing that line, and the media keeps printing it almost as for political reasons. I think they sense that there might be some blowback, and they're trying to get out there and make sure that the public or the public that would care about that maybe throw a bone to them. But it's one thing. I don't know how much attention you paid to the video we played at the beginning. I'm sure you've seen it, but you can clearly see the second guy running has a handgun in his hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as for this case, I think we can all agree it's great this guy wasn't charged, but I wonder how much of that was because he clearly had a handgun. If he did not have a handgun, I mean, that's still 3 grown-ass men coming in your home. I think when I see a case where there is no handgun and the guy still isn't charged for using his gun, that's when I'll say, okay, we're getting there.
Yeah, and it could have gone down that way. The door camera was extremely important here because, a lot of times you don't have that footage, and the homeowner uses the firearm in self-defense. The criminals escape, and why did you shoot him? He had a gun, and of course they catch the criminal. They question the criminal. I didn't have no gun. How do you prove it? See,
yeah.
But the door camera here definitely does. Whether it was an actual firearm, whether it was a replica firearm, whether it was airsoft or whatever, it doesn't matter. They were brandishing it as a real gun. And obviously you're going to feel your life is in danger. But I totally take your point. I mean, why should you be subject to that reasonable use of force when you just don't know? I mean, it's a split-second decision, and to require homeowners or require potential victims to react a certain way in proportion to the threat that they are facing, which they don't know and have no experience with. I know there's a lot of criticism about castle laws in the United States, but I think it's unwarranted, because you have to come down on the side of homeowners and victims in a case like this, because it is just not reasonable to expect that everybody is going to understand use of force, understand proportionality, and react that way. And unfortunately, in Canada, that's not taken into consideration. I know the police in this case are saying, well, we're not going to press charges, but those charges could still come. They could still come from Crown. I'm sure Crown is looking at this and thinking, well, do we lay a charge here? I know it'd be politically unpopular, that's for sure. But we often find in cases like this that they feel obligated. They feel obligated to charge the victim, just to show that they do not encourage things like vigilantism or taking the law into your own hands and that sort of thing. Yeah, we know we've got a weak case here. We know it's going to probably, the charges are going to get dismissed, but at least we've done our due diligence, and we've shown people that, hey, this is serious, and if you're forced to do this, you're at least going to get charged, if not convicted. And again, that's wrong too. That's got to change. And it's really based on laws in a society that where that worked for many years. I will say that. I mean, the Criminal Code of Canada, self-defense laws and proportionality were very appropriate for many decades, but it's not appropriate anymore. And to expect that the challenges that people are facing today, it's going to work for them is clearly not.
I come from a martial art background. I've done a lot of fighting in the ring, and then I started doing Krav Maga. And my instructor is a little guy from Israel that used to train the Israeli army in hand-to-hand combat. If you've never been in a fight against three, if you've been in a fight with one-on-one, you understand that it's not that easy if you don't know what you're doing. But I don't care how trained you are. Three guys on you, it's not like in the movies. They're not going to wait on you to deal with the first one and then deal with no. We've trained for this, where guys had baseball bat, they had fake knives, they had guns. You should see us. We're getting out of training. We are purple. I have videos of me beat it up just because we were doing some advanced training. And that's something that judges don't understand. That's something that Crown attorneys don't understand. That's something that the trial jurors don't understand. They don't know what it is to have to fight people hand to hand. And he was probably sleeping. It was at 1 o'clock in the morning. He was probably sleeping. You wake up, you're like, what the hell is going on? But I know that your time's limited. There's one last thing I wanted to bring up with you, because last month prosecutors withdrew charges against, the man in Lindsay, Ontario, that had been accused of assaulting a home intruder. That makes no sense to me, but that is how he assaulted a home intruder, sir. That was in August 2025 last year. And Doug Ford, as much as I dislike that man, talked against it, saying that guy should be charged, that he did nothing wrong. He came out and said the same thing about this case, because the charges were dropped against the Lindsay man. Do you think that this case kind of opens the door for a conversation about castle doctrine in Canada? Or do you think that, because it's very political right now, their gun grab is not doing well. Police forces throughout Canada don't want to enforce it. There's 9 provinces that said no. There's basically Quebec and maybe BC that are still on board with it. Do you think they're going to have to give something? No.
I don't even think Quebec and BC are on board anymore. But I think it continues the conversation, and that's a good thing. Okay. Unfortunately, the conversation only comes up at times like this, where you've had a high-profile case where somebody's forced to defend themselves, and fortunately, this time it looked like it went the right way. But I will guarantee you that there will be other cases where it will not, and people will be charged. And you use the example of the man in Lindsay. He was charged. Okay, he had to get a lawyer. He had to prepare to defend himself. It was probably very, very expensive for him to do that. The process was the punishment. So Crown got their pound of flesh from him, even though they did not get a conviction. They taught him a lesson. He'll think twice about defending himself again in the future.
Assaulting a home intruder.
100%. Assaulting a home intruder.
Wild.
No, okay.
Wild.
Yeah. Blair, I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for doing this last minute, because I literally reached out to you this afternoon. I will, now that I know that you do respond to me that fast, sorry, you're going to be on call now. I might reach out to you when I need a gun expert like you, but thank you very much for,
I'll be prepared
for thank you very much for coming on, and
your time,
looking
sir.
forward to talking to you again.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
So there you have it. It's always good to have a very knowledgeable individual to speak about these cases, because as much as I understand the law, I haven't been at this for 30, 40 years, and I don't want to say that he's been at it for that long. I don't know how mature Blair is, but all to say that he's been at it for a lot longer than than I have. Definitely. And that's what I was telling him before the show. He's very methodical in the way that he approaches things. Like, he's very straight to the point. This is what happens. This is what the case is about. This is what you can expect. This is what normally happens. So I don't know for you guys, but I really, really enjoy having Blair on the show.
No, he's great. He's a great guest.
And by the way, guys, I think so too. We are joined by Tracy Wilson tomorrow, VP for the CCFR, to speak about their Supreme Court decision that they will receive tomorrow morning. So I was able to, as soon as I saw her post, I reached out. I'm like, can you come on the show at night to speak about the judgment? She's like, yes. So we will be talking about guns tomorrow too. Yeah. Oh, it's one of my favorite subjects. So I love to talk about guns, and we're blessed enough that I have contacts with the biggest names in the gun scene in Canada, which is always cool to be able to reach out to them and have them show up. So, by the way, we have another guest at 7:30 today. But before I get to him, I will. I just wanted to make sure, because we just got a message from Shawn. Okay, we're good. So we do have a guest in about 5 minutes, which is great. But before we do, we need to speak about our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Miss Cleo's Pet Treat, 100% natural dog treats made by hand in Canada. Not only are they handmade, my dog is still behind me. She still wants it. She's like right there. I know if I get up and I go near that fridge, man, she's going to want it. But those treats made right here in Canada, handmade with love. And she sources all of her meat from local farms in Manitoba. So if you believe that your dog deserves better, go to cleoscookiesandtreats.ca. Use our discount code Political Orphans and get 20% off your entire purchase. Just check the description below. The link is there. The discount code is there. And her treats are good enough for humans, I think. Not that I would ever try them or anything.
No, not at all.
not that I would ever try dog treats.
Some treats out there. There are definitely some treats out there where you're like, fuck, that looks pretty good. That doesn't look too bad.
Man, back in the days when I was 15 and I smoked a lot of weed, I would have probably ate them. But those ones, though, I got to give it to her. I'm very impressed. And I'm talking just as somebody that's had dogs for decades, that buys treats, like high-end treats that are $20-$30 a bag, that lasts a week and a half with my dog. You have more, better quality, and there's no preservative, there's no crap in it. It's really just handmade, and it looks like beef jerky. It really looks like jerky, and you can have all the type of jerkies that you want. And she does it all herself, so it's really, really cool. Super nice lady, really, really cool. So
nice.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah, Scooby snacks. Yes, exactly. Like Vespera saying, Scooby snacks.
Scooby
Yes,
snacks.
yes.
Yes.
I'm not stoned enough for Scooby snacks though. Ugh. That looks like something else that I'm not ready for.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna check
So we're
in the
almost
comments.
ready
Unless you,
for with Shawn. No,
yep, 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 yep,
maybe
yep.
maybe even give him the intro and tell the audience what we're gonna chat with him. Then it looks like he'll be ready there any second.
Shawn, thumbs up if you're ready. If not, oh, we are ready. So, guys, we are joined by lawyer and founder of the Natural Health Product Protection Association, Shawn Buckley, to speak about Bill C-224. Shawn, good night. Nice to see you again.
Very good to see you. And Rob, very nice to meet you.
You as well. Great. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for reaching out, because you reached out to me last week and you asked me to come on the show to speak about a small victory or a big victory. We'll see how you call it, but you're all about natural health products, which is something I'm very keen on. I know Rob is very keen on that too. And most Canadians are very keen on it. And one of the things that I absolutely love about what you do is that it's non-political. Just like we were just talking about Blair Hagen's from the NFA, where home invasions, everybody in their right mind thinks that you should be able to defend yourself. It should not be a political thing, and what you do shouldn't be a political thing either. Wanting Canadians to have access to natural health products, that's a no-brainer to me. So thank you for reaching out, and we'll start there. How about you explain to the listeners what Bill C-224 is, and why should Canadians care?
Okay, so I'll just back up a little bit, and when we're talking about natural health products, we're really talking about two things. So we're talking about essential nutrients that you actually need to survive and or be healthy. Like there's some you can't live without, you'll actually die, and others you'll just be chronically sick if you're deficient. So we're talking about that. And we're also talking about natural remedies, right? So, you're pregnant and you're nauseous, drinking ginger tea to treat nausea. Nobody cares if you drink it just because you like it. But, if you drink it for a purpose or it's sold for a purpose, all of a sudden, Health Canada is very excited. This is all about censorship at the end of the day. So when we're talking about natural health products, we're talking about those two things, but I think it's important for your audience to understand it's actually illegal. Like, the three of us couldn't get together and sell an essential nutrient like vitamin C or vitamin D. And it's funny, I was interviewing Dr. Stephen Malthouse 2 days ago. He was a medical doctor for 45 years in British Columbia. And he was saying, people keep showing up for surgeries and they do your blood work. He says, you'd be amazed how many Canadians are borderline scurvy, meaning they're not getting enough vitamin C. And so they're setting themselves up for not being able to fight infections after the surgery. And they're setting themselves up for not being able to heal, because vitamin C also helps us create connective tissues and the like, right? So, like no joke, Canadians are deficient in vitamin C and vitamin D. It's illegal. It'd be illegal for the three of us to just start selling vitamin C because we're in the drug category. And so let's explain the drug model a little bit, just so people understand why what we're trying to do right now is important. So the drug model really has three parts, and really four parts, but so the first thing Health Canada did was they had Parliament define drugs so broadly that it includes anything that you would use to prevent getting sick or that you would use to treat yourself if you were sick or injured. So it's so broad. Rob, literally, if I said to you, my gosh, you look dehydrated, will you drink some water? It'd be like, thank goodness we're not in the same room, because if I gave you the water to treat dehydration, water's now a drug because it's for purpose.
That's crazy.
And we'd be breaking so many federal laws. I mean, it would shock the audience, them watching the Health Canada thugs, tackle us and cuff us and drag us out.
So if I just say I'm thirsty but not dehydrated, that's fine. But if I'm dehydrated, it's a medical issue. Now the water is a problem.
Well, and this is what's so crazy. It's like no word of a lie. If the three of us wanted to sell water to prevent dehydration, now it's a drug.
That's crazy.
And this is what's so crazy about this. So something can be a food in the grocery aisle, but as soon as you're going to make a truthful claim about it, like, we all agree, like, don't bullshit people, right? And there's protection against fraud in many of our statutes. So that's not what we're talking about. But, turns out ginger tea does treat nausea really well. We've known that for thousands of years, and we've been using it for thousands of years. But we made it a drug. So, and every Western nation's done this. So they define drugs so broadly, it covers everything used for therapeutic purpose. Now, this is by design because they want to own that field. The next thing they do is they make it illegal for you to sell a drug. And how they do that is they say, well, you can't sell a drug without a license. And to get a license, you got to prove it's safe and effective. Well, that all sounds well and good. If I can share a funny story with you, Nature Sunshine years ago was trying to get licensed for encapsulated parsley. So, the parsley you'd buy in the produce section. Well, parsley's got some real health benefits. So they thought, well, let's dry it, throw the dried parsley in a capsule and sell it for, a health purpose. They got refused because they couldn't prove to Health Canada that parsley was safe. And don't like there just aren't clinical trials showing that parsley is safe. So, and I'm not meaning to, alarm all your viewers that might have parsley in their fridge. Like, you're living dangerously. So, but this is how crazy it is. So now selling anything to prevent illness, and like I say, this includes vital nutrients that you actually need to be alive. Like, our health policy should be, let's push vital nutrients on everyone. But no, we're restricting them and actually making them expensive. Like, the United States Department of Agriculture, every 4 or 5 years, they survey the food supply and they publish what's the nutrients in various foods. And they've been doing this since about 1900. And I think it was their 1949 report where they sounded the alarm. They said, there are now, like, our foods have become so deficient of nutrients that you can't avoid chronic sickness. And in the report, they'd actually list, like, if you're missing this nutrient and this nutrient, here's the chronic illness you get. And they went on and on and on. So none of this is a secret. There's not enough nutrients in our food. And it's gotten worse since 1949. And then plus the amount of dangerous chemicals in our food supply, which also can either rob us of nutrients, prevent us from using the nutrients we have, or just poison us, in which case we need more nutrients to fight the fact that we're being poisoning. So it is impossible. It is impossible in Canada, even if you're eating right, you're eating organic, and you're trying to make sure you get enough nitrates in your bacon and all of that stuff. Well, it's funny I said that just because now I don't believe anything they tell us. So, I don't avoid bacon anymore. Maybe it's good for me. But anyway, even if you're eating right, you must supplement. You're not getting enough vitamin C. You're not getting enough vitamin D. You're not getting your trace minerals. So I would just say, go to a health food store, find somebody who's qualified. They'll want to know what your diet is, what else you're taking, and they'll get you started. And if, you're a real go-getter, go pay a nutritionist or naturopath or whatever to put you on a regime. But you got to supplement. I mean, you just have to. So here we're in a world where we must supplement to get vital nutrients. But for anyone to sell you those vital nutrients, they have to get Health Canada's pre-approval. And then Health Canada plays this game with the recommended daily allowances. So, we've all picked up a bottle or even some food packages, and it'll say recommended daily allowance of vitamin C or vitamin D or iron or, whatever it is. Well, if you followed those recommendations, you will be chronically sick before you die. You like those amounts are so criminally low that it's asinine, but it is illegal for anyone in Canada to sell you a dosage amount that exceeds the RDA. So in fact, it's illegal for people to sell you vitamin D with a label dose saying take this much, that would actually help you. So unless you're getting advice where somebody says just ignore what's on the bottle and take 10 times as much, speaking about vitamin D, 10 times as much as a minimal dose.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
A lot of these things.
If you look at your vitamin D, they tell you like 1,000. They tell you like 1,000.
They upped it to 2. So, but that's 2,000 micrograms, which is so meaningless.
What should we be taking?
Well, I would say at least 10,000 micrograms as a minimum.
Well, and a lot of these
three times a day as a minimum.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Shawn, but a lot of these minerals and vitamins, and I believe that vitamin D is one of them, where you can't really overdose on them because your body just expels whatever it doesn't use. Is that correct?
By and large, I mean, I hate absolutes because actually some Canadians die each year from drinking too much water. Yeah. Long distance runners, they drink too much water to stay hydrated. Their body's under a bunch of stress and they die. But I was just looking the other day, the last serious risk analysis I saw in Canada, by Professor Ron Law, who's a risk analysis expert in New Zealand, who was hired to look at Canadian government statistics. He had to actually look at other Western nations to find any deaths. And he showed that you're 14 times more likely to be struck by lightning in Canada than to be harmed by a natural health product. And I just saw that the Alliance of Natural Health in the United Kingdom has just published EU data and UK data, which mirrors that. So you're more likely to be struck and killed by lightning than you are to be harmed by a natural health product. So the risk is so low. Like in risk analysis, there's what's called an ultra safe line, or you might refer to it as a de minimis line, and that's just Latin for, really next to nothing. So the ultra safe or de minimis line is at 1 death per million of the population per year. So if something is causing, let's say trains or bicycling, or some drug is causing, or food additive. We use it for a food additive. So if you want to make orange popsicles, we have to figure out, well, what level of dye only kills 1 child per million of the population per year? So we'll accept, where there's 40 million Canadians, we'll accept 40 deaths a year so that we can have orange popsicles. And then that amount gets put into our food regulations. But it's pretty well common wisdom. If you're around that ultra safe line, don't bother regulating, because the safety signal is so low, you can't actually measure if you're making a difference. So why would you intervene at all? And natural health products are so below that ultra safe line. So because the ultra safe line is 1 death per million per year, I'm not aware of a credible report of a Canadian being killed by a natural health product ever in Canadian history. So we're talking ultra safe, but here's where it gets fun is Health Canada by design wants to take these remedies away. And they say danger, danger, danger. And in fact, they have this theme. It's called failed efficacy. So you'll see it in their documents. And they will publicly write and publicly, say in parliamentary committees, there's a real danger here. If people take natural health products for serious health conditions, they will delay what Health Canada calls proper treatment. And I'm going to go into what proper treatment is in a moment. And then they could die or be injured. But Health Canada ignores that natural remedies actually save a whole bunch of lives. I'll share with you in a minute how I got involved in all of this. But let's just go into this, kind of what this failed efficacy, the problem is. So remember, you have to get a license to sell a drug. Well, Health Canada has structured the drug approval process for serious health conditions. They've made it so expensive by design so that in the lifetime of anyone watching this, every single drug that has been approved for a serious health condition, with the exception of Primarin, which is excessively expensive to make and you need a whole bunch of pregnant mares. So every single drug approved for a serious health condition but Primarin had a patent when it was approved. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So what it means is in Canada, it is only legal to treat serious health conditions with either surgery and or chemical drugs that had a patent when they went through the drug approval process. Wow. Now, this is by design. Now, natural health products, you can't get patents. Like, just so we understand the numbers here, it's probably been about 14 years since I asked a drug approval expert who is under oath. So, I mean, they're under oath, it's being recorded. And I asked, what's the average cost to get through the new drug approval process? Back then, the answer just right out of the gate was $1 billion. Now,
you said $1 billion? Would it be
a billion? Yeah. No, it doesn't mean that, on a real simple application, which wouldn't involve a serious health condition, it doesn't mean that for a real simple application, you couldn't do it for several hundred million. So, I mean, that's just the average cost. Okay? But this is all by design, and that's why, because natural health products don't have patents, they can't get through the drug approval process. So we've structured our affairs so that it's illegal to use natural remedies for serious health conditions. And by design, our government-funded healthcare system, by design, they're the distribution and marketing arm for the chemical drug companies, because most of the chemical drugs we use are by prescription, and that's where the big money is. Well, you can't get a prescription except going to a medical doctor. No other doctor. I mean, some naturopaths in a couple of provinces have limited prescribing rights, but for all intents and purposes, you can only access the legal treatments for serious conditions through the government-funded healthcare system, which makes them, by definition, the distribution and marketing arm for the chemical drug companies. Now, let's talk about this, the problem for health outcomes. So I think Nico knows this story, but Rob, you won't. So I started this journey 32 years ago, back in 1994, acting as legal counsel for Health Canada. So I'm Health Canada's lawyer.
Okay.
And what was happening is there was this herbalist in Kamloops named Jim Strauss, and Health Canada was wanting to shut him down big time. And I'll just share for your audience, Health Canada has waived solicitor-client privilege on this, so I can speak about it. So Health Canada just hates this guy. Like, they're referring to him to me as...
And it's your job to shut him down at this point.
Oh, yeah, I'm acting for Health Canada.
Okay.
So it's with shame that I tell the story that I was successful.
Well, we've all got our origin story, right?
But I didn't know. And it's a great story because I think people can relate. So I'm acting for Health Canada. They're saying, look, he's a rogue herbalist. And I know nothing about natural health products. I don't know anything about herbs. I probably haven't even heard the term naturopathic doctor or homeopathic doctor, let alone traditional Chinese practitioner. Like, I just grew up in kind of your normal Canadian family where if you got sick, you went to the medical doctor. Mm-hmm. So I don't know any of this. And and I'm a young pup. Right? Like, this is 1994.
Fresh out of law school.
Eager
to make your name.
So they're saying, well, here's a rogue herbalist. And they explained to me, this is unbelievable, but he's selling unapproved treatments. And
You're like,
I tell you, first of all,
accept our word for it.
In my defense, Kamloops is a really hot place, especially in the summer. And that Kool-Aid was refreshing. So I drank all of this Health Canada Kool-Aid. So they're saying this rogue herbalist is selling unapproved treatments. Well, I don't know that the whole natural health industry is unapproved because you can't get approved back then. 1994, there's only the chemical drug regs. So you walked into a health food store, everything in there is illegal. In fact, everything in there was technically illegal till around 2015. Wow. It's only recently that we've had this approval process. But anyway, so I'm told there's this rogue herbalist, he's selling unapproved treatments, and this is dangerous. Like, first of all, they're unapproved. Like, my gosh, well, like what's in there? Garlic? Yeah, there is.
Is that what he was selling?
No. But the product we're talking about, one of the main ingredients is fermented garlic. So, and I'll get to that story in a second. But so he basically just shut him down. So he was importing some herbs from the United States, which anyone could import. Like, these herbs were legal to possess. But Health Canada has Canadian Border Services Agency seize them at the border. Now, when the government takes your property without your consent, there's a specific legal term for that your audience might not know, but lawyers refer to it as theft. Right? They stole his herbs, so he's suing to get his herbs back, and but he's in the wrong court, so I have his case thrown out. And to my shame, but anyway, he and I got along well, because just because he's in the wrong court, I mean, doesn't mean you treat him badly as a person. So he actually took me out for lunch after I had his case thrown out. That's interesting.
That's an interesting story. So the guy who just beat him in court, he's like, "Why don't we go for a drink?" Or go. For
I wouldn't have accepted the food.
He took me out for lunch. He took me out for lunch. Not
but
the
that's
other
what
way
I'm
around.
saying. That's what I'm saying. It's poison. He's a herbalist after all. He knows how to poison you, probably.
Right. No. But anyway, so here's the conversion. So when I'm working for Health Canada, it's like I'm believing that it's dangerous to allow somebody like Jim Strauss to sell unapproved treatments, because people might, it's snake oil, and then people could literally die.
I can see the argument. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I bought it. So anyway, shortly after that, I start my own firm. In another effort to shut him down, Health Canada has him charged by the province of British Columbia for practicing medicine without a license, because the law that gives the medical doctors in BC their medical monopoly back then said that only medical doctors can practice medicine, and it defines, in every province it's the same. They define the practice of medicine so broadly that, diagnosing and treating, making recommendations, all of that's practicing medicine. And just so you know how real this is, I mean, this is back now in 1995, 1996. But right now, as we speak, a naturopathic doctor named Annie Janot in Quebec is waiting to be sentenced for practicing medicine without a license in Quebec, simply for practicing as a naturopathic doctor. Because in Quebec, like pretty well every other province, there is a piece of legislation saying only doctors can practice medicine, and defining practice of medicine so broadly that it includes anything else. I got a call the other day from somebody who a College of Physicians and Surgeons sent the scary letter saying, you stop doing blood analysis, live blood analysis, because you're not a medical doctor. Well, no medical doctor is going to do live blood analysis. So, if we follow that to its conclusion, then there's a whole bunch of treatment modalities that basically we will never get to use because of this by design plan to limit us to medical doctors that use chemical drugs, which are the only ones that are approved. But let's get back to life. This is life and death. So he's
Before
charged.
You do, though, funny enough, Annie Junot, the girl you were just referring to, is not even 8 minutes from me right now. She's literally down the road.
Oh, wow.
I've heard the name. I'm like, what? That sounds familiar. So she's super. That criminal is literally like 8 minutes away from me.
Well, I'm sure that the, province of Quebec would would think that you're in dire danger here. So,
Yeah.
I'm too close to the
if
source.
you got to like bug out during the show, Rob and I will finish.
We understand. We understand.
You know, I don't want to see. I see the fear response already, right? You're
Oh yeah,
putting on a
100%.
brave face and the whole thing.
There's a ginger attack coming.
You know,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's insane.
heck, it's contagious.
I just
So sorry, Rob. Go.
No, I was just very quickly, because I thought this was crazy when you first said it at the beginning of the show, and just in case anyone missed that. So it's really not even about actual drugs we're talking about. Me, you, and Nico could start a company and sell ginger all we want if we're saying buy our ginger because it tastes good on your orange chicken.
Yes.
But the second we say it'll also help your upset tummy, now it's a drug and now we can't sell it.
Absolutely.
This is crazy.
Yeah, well, yes,
and you know what's funny?
Despite
You
that,
know what's funny about natural?
ginger does that.
But you know what's funny? If you look at naturopath, they always look very healthy, at least the vast majority. I'm looking at pictures of her, of Annie Junot, good-looking girl. She looks like she's very, very healthy. It's surprising how that works, right? You look at naturopath and you look at your doctor that you go see for your health problem, obese, overweight, doesn't exercise, tells you to take more pills. It's always interesting how that works.
I forget what book it was. Might have been like White Coat, Black Hat. I'm not sure. It might have been Dr. Wallach's book. But you know what? I had been reading in one of these books that doctors as a group die really young. Like they don't live long, which is kind of interesting, right? Because you would expect that our so-called only legal healers. But Rob, back to this life and death thing. So he's charged with practicing medicine without a license. The law, and because he's claiming to cure heart disease. Okay, that he's claiming to cure heart disease. Like, so when Health Canada says, "Oh my gosh, this is dangerous. People could delay proper treatment. They could have heart attacks and die, or damage their heart." Like, oh my gosh, and I'm dead on the water and the facts. Like, there's no way I can win on the facts. Now, this is back, this is like 95, 96. The charter's, only 12, 14 years old. And it still meant something back then. It was kind of like shiny and new. Yeah. We hadn't had, some of our rights really become totally meaningless with court decisions and, applications you need to make that nobody can afford. So the law for freedom of expression, because I decided, okay, I got to attack the law, because you're saying nobody but doctors can speak about, treatments, about health. And so,
because what do they say, right? If the facts are on your side, argue the facts, argue the law. If the law is on your side,
so if the facts are on your side, argue the facts. And if the facts aren't on your side, argue the law.
Argue the law. Yeah. Okay. So, right. so you're there. You're arguing the law.
Right. Okay. So here's where this gets fun. Every single case was so strongly on my side that if the judge followed the law, the law's got to be struck down. But we have a huge narrative problem. So you put yourself in the judge's shoes, and I'll ask the audience, put yourself in the judge's shoes. If you accept Health Canada's narrative, you've got a problem. So the law is telling you should strike down this law. Like the case law is saying, you should strike down this law for violating freedom of expression. But you've accepted Health Canada's narrative that there's this rogue herbalist saying that he can treat heart disease as a very serious condition, and that literally people could die if you side for him, because they'll believe him and avoid getting a bypass surgery or stents or whatever. And some of them are going to die, and some of them are going to become disabled. They're going to damage their heart. And you've accepted that narrative. Now, it doesn't matter that the law says you should strike that down. You're going to try and do everything you can not to strike that law down. So, I mean, I appreciate I got a narrative problem. Now, Jim's going to tell his story, but that's going to be self-serving. And Jim's story was quite fantastic. So he was an old fellow Like, he had flown in the German Air Force in the Second World War. And he was from Austria, and his family had been traditional healers in Austria for 400 years. And he was trained by his grandparents. He was a master herbalist with 400 years of, tradition behind him. Well, he wasn't interested in that at all. He got a PhD in electrical engineering. He's working for BC Hydro as an electrical engineer, high stress job. He has the big heart attack. He's rushed by ambulance to the hospital. They do an angiogram, which I've seen. One of the arteries was 100% blocked. Another was 80% blocked. And they say, Jim, you're dead unless we do a double bypass surgery. Like, you can't survive with this much blockage. And he didn't like that idea. He checked himself out of the hospital. He used the family knowledge. He makes the Strauss heart drops. He cures himself. He lives about another 30 years, dies of old age, never had a bypass surgery. And he decides, well, I better go into the herbal business because people need this. So he was passionate about curing heart. He drove around in a white van that said, we cure heart disease. And there's no way. I mean, if I put him, on the stand, back then, all of the judges in Kamloops were older men, and he would have looked at the judge and pointed at the judge who'd have crow's feet on his ear, a sure sign of heart disease. And he said, Your Honor, you have heart disease. You need my heart drops. I mean, it would have happened. It would have happened. So I go to his herb shop and I explain the problem to him, this narrative problem we have. And I say, Jim, is there any way we can show that you're telling the truth? Now, this is my road to Damascus experience where I have a conversion. He goes into the back and he brings me out a box. And he goes into the back and he brings me out another box. And he goes into the back and he brings me out another box. Now, this is 30 years ago. I don't remember if there were 3 boxes or 5. These boxes are filled to the brim with letters that people felt compelled to write him. He's not asking anyone to write him letters. I take them back to my office. I don't know how many days it takes me to read every single letter. And they might as well have been photocopies. They were so identical. It's like, I had heart disease. I was sick. I was dying. I took your heart drops. I got well. Like, God bless you.
Wow.
Now, that is 100% hearsay. I cannot enter a single letter. But I can call the authors of the letters to take the stand, swear to tell the truth, and then tell the truth. And in fact, that's the highest level of evidence in a criminal court. So I start phoning these people. And there's so many, I get to cherry pick. So on the day of trial, Rob, I had 5 middle-class professionals, because the judge is a middle-class professional.
Sure, yeah.
So I got the judge's people there. So I have 5 middle-class professionals. They had all had heart disease. They had all had at least 1 open heart bypass surgery. They all continued to have one of them had 2 open heart bypass surgeries. They all continued to have heart disease because the reasons their arteries were being plugged up wasn't being addressed. So they plugged up again. They all needed another open heart bypass surgery. A couple of them were too weak to survive the surgery, so they were sent home to die. And the others weren't willing to go through that surgery again. It's so invasive. It's so painful. It's so hard to recover from that they weren't willing to do that again just to buy another year or 2. So for all of these people, the approved treatments was a death sentence. It was a death sentence. Now, all of them come across the heart drops, usually through naturopathic doctors. They all get well. And this is the thing I couldn't get my head around. So they had been all disabled, most of them for like a decade or more. They're all working full time at the time of trial. They're all working full time. And you can't fake that. You can't go from being disabled where you got an oxygen tank and a walker for 10 years to like nothing and working full time. So I came to realize, wait a second. I had it backwards.
There's something here.
The danger wasn't allowing some rogue herbalist to sell unapproved treatments when these treatments can't be approved at all, let alone for serious health conditions. They still can't be approved for serious health conditions. The danger is not allowing adults fully informed to be making their own health decisions. That was the danger.
100%.
You know, after that, I got hired by True Hope Nutritional Support, and they have a vitamin mineral supplement called Empower Plus that treats bipolar disorder, like the serious stuff. Back then, their clients were those people that would be involuntarily committed in and out of psych wards. And, you know, once you hit that stage, like, you're not going to be alive in 5 years. Like, if there were 1,000 of us in a room and we said, let's come back in 5 years for a convention, like, nobody's going to show. And these people were becoming 100% normal. And the court actually acquitted them because they were selling with a license. Again, nobody could get a license, but the court acquitted them. And in the oral decision, there's a written decision in the oral decision, but anyone can get the transcript. The court said there would have been more deaths because the court found that Health Canada people died. We think about 300 people lost their lives because Health Canada temporarily stopped access to that product. So I came to understand, and this is where we have the problem with Health Canada, is their goal is to protect to protect intellectual property rights. Mm-hmm. That's their goal. And I'm not the only one that says that. Like, Google Professor Alan Castles at University of Victoria and watch his lectures. He says that all the time. So that's their goal. And the game they play is they structure it so you can't get approved. Everything's a drug. And then what they're doing is they're basically making the regulations stricter and stricter and stricter. And every time that happens, we lose products, we lose innovation, and prices go up so lower income Canadians can't afford them. Now, before I carry on, and Nico, this is a long answer to your first question, you know, probably 40 minutes ago, was like, well, what's happening now? You got some exciting things happening.
Yeah, unfortunately, we end at 8. We're like 5 minutes over.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have to have you back on.
We've had an exciting talk anyway.
We've been kind of going over a little lately, and we've been really kind of meaning to kind of keep it to that hour. But I definitely would like to have you back on and continue. This topic is definitely, you know, smack dab in the middle of what we'd like to cover on this show. This was a very informative conversation for me. Very quickly though, what happened with Jim Strauss? Was he still?
So what happened is, you know, the trial started, and the Department of Justice came to understand that they were going to lose, so they stayed the trial.
Wow.
And that always happens. Like, I've been practicing constitutional law for 32 years, and part of the problem is in every single time where we reach the point in a trial where they understand they're going to lose a constitutional question, they stay the proceedings so that you don't get the constitutional question answered in your favor.
You don't get the precedent set.
And that shouldn't be allowed. That should be illegal. I
agree.
Right? Like, because then,
you don't get to do it the other way. If it looks like you're gonna get found guilty, you don't get to be like, nah, actually, I don't want to go through with this.
Yeah, I don't want that constitutional precedent set. No, our system is so broken legally. That's a whole other conversation. Like, even a professional Department of Justice is inconsistent long term with a democracy.
Wow.
I'm actually looking, by the way, I'm looking at the hard drops, the products of Strauss, because they're heavily on even Amazon.
I'm gonna take note of that.
If you want to, if you want to know something interesting, so I'm at nhppa.org. In another week or two, we're going to, I think next week actually, our talk forum. We have Wayne Elliott, and he's got a story. Like, he's one of these guys that he's only alive. He was telling on this interview, so his father needs a double bypass, and he's using a hospital in Boston. And so his surgery is scheduled for like about 3 months up the road. They threw some stints in to keep him going. And Wayne convinces him, we'll take these heart drops for 3 months. Like, what's the downside? And then go to your surgery. So he goes to his surgery. Well, they do an angiogram before your surgery, so they know exactly what to do, and they cancel the surgery.
Wow.
He's never had it. 3
months.
Right?
3 months.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it doesn't take long. So
because this is something in my family. If you look at the men, we all die in our 50s, 60s, all of heart problems. That is something that is current in my family. And just hearing you talk about this, it's the second time you mention it, makes me a bit paranoid. I'm like, I'll spend $100 for 3 months of those drops. And if you're saying that
Why
3
not?
months pretty much fixes it,
Yeah, what I do,
that's an investment to me.
Is I do a bottle or two a year just as a preventative.
Just in case. Fuck, man.
And this is exactly, you're making me paranoid because it's the second time you mention it. I'm like, mother, now I'm just gonna fucking buy it. Sorry, Shawn.
I mean,
my language. I'm just gonna get them
around. So
that double bypass surgery, that is no joke. I mean, if you can avoid that, you want to do that for sure.
But the thing is, I don't know if the men in my family die because of heart problems caused by their lifestyle, or is it their wife? That I don't know. I wasn't able to get to have that conversation with them. I don't know.
And I'm going to play that safe and say no comment.
Yeah, the
this is what I'm saying.
With everything.
No, unfortunately not. But Shawn, we'll have to have you back so that we can talk about Bill C-224 now that you've told your origin story to Rob. We can start on that next time. But I appreciate it because you're a funny guy. Like, you're very entertaining. Not saying, like, this is a compliment. Lawyers are normally not very entertaining.
Not the most fun group.
No,
you're one of the good ones, Shawn. You're one of the fun ones.
thanks for the request. We'll have to do it again. I'll send you another email tomorrow or the day after, so we can figure out another time. So
no, sounds good. About... And
go ahead.
Pleasure being on your show. And Rob, very nice to meet you. And you guys keep doing what you're doing, because you're making a difference. So appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
And so are you. So are you.
Yeah, right back.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Say hi to your wife, Shawn.
Sounds good. Catch you later. Thanks.
Bye. There you have it, man.
you know, he gets off. She's like, so. She's like, the drop won't get rid of me, brother.
But I like Shawn. Like, he's just
he's a good guy. He's fun.
He's funny. He's very sarcastic. Like, he's very he likes to be very sarcastic. He's unusually funny for a lawyer, like we were saying.
Very a good storyteller, very personable. I think looking at those comments, it looked like a lot of our regular audience members really enjoyed the conversation, and it looks like we're picking up quite a few of Shawn's followers as well.
I'm looking at that now. I'm just gonna buy them. Like, this is the type of stuff that has always been in my mind, because a lot of the men. How much is a bottle? Well, it depends. They have two different sizes. You're looking at, it's not cheap, obviously, but if you're looking at 100 ml, they're talking about 1 to 3. So he's saying a bottle twice a year. So that's probably the smaller bottle. That's 100 ml is $82.
I mean, that's not bad. Considering what we're talking about.
No. And the one that's 225 ml is 160, so it's just about twice the price for just over twice more, 120%, 125% more. But yeah, this is the type of stuff that I'm always paranoid about. Like, my dad got his first heart attack around my age, like 44, 45. Yeah. Well, when you treat your body like bullshit, you know. Yeah. But it's always been in the back of my mind my whole life. Like, when you know every guy in your family died from the same thing, you know.
Yeah. You know, you're worried about it coming. Yeah.
So now I'm just gonna buy it now. I'm just gonna go get it. Last time I said that when I spoke to Shawn months ago, I'm like, I definitely need to get that now. I'm just gonna fucking buy it as we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, I'm gonna look into this as well.
Yep.
So we'll you already did the sponsor thing, eh?
Yeah, we did the sponsor. Just as a reminder that tomorrow we are joined by CCFR's VP of Public Relations, Tracy Wilson, to speak about the CCFR. I don't want to say response, but they have an open case with the Supreme Court of Canada right now. They're waiting on a ruling, and they will get the decision something like 9:30, 9:45 in the morning, and I was able to secure her to come on the show for 7:30 tomorrow. So we will once again be talking about guns at 7:30 Eastern time tomorrow with Tracy Wilson from the CCFR.
Yeah, it's a hot topic these days. So you definitely,
100%.
you guys won't want to miss that one. Tune in tomorrow for that. If you are just tuning in, it looks like we do have quite a few new faces tonight. Welcome. If you want to support the show, please consider becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also buy us a coffee in your upper left-hand corner of your screen. You'll see the QR code. And of course, if you don't want to do that, another way to support the show is just keep coming back. We have regularly informative, entertaining guests like Shawn there, and before him, what was his name? Is it Gavin? That's what was
it was Blair Hagen.
Blair
from the National Firearm Association.
Also an excellent conversation. Yeah. So like I said, it's another way to support the show. Keep coming back. Throw those comments out there. We will often get to them. If we have guests, we don't obviously have as much time to get to audience questions as we normally do. But if it's one of the episodes without guests, as the regulars here will tell you, we are regularly engaging with you guys. That is a big part of the show. So, folks, have a great rest of your night. Tune in tomorrow. You don't want to miss that interview with Tracy, and we will end the week with a bang, I guess.
Yeah.
Peace.
With a pow pow.
Yeah, with a pew pew. Peace.